Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Good to see you again. Thank you for coming back on the show.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
I mean, it's pretty crazy because the movie is out of control, but I feel like that's kind of goes without saying. I mean, but like my main thing is the going back in time. Like, what was that like? Kind of going back in time for Quasi specifically. Are you focusing mainly on kind of like what your characters like what the look is gonna be like? Like, I always get interested in stuff like that, right? Like,
well, everybody did such a great job, from hair and makeup to the costumes, that, you know, my character, I felt like I embodied the queen. When I had all that stuff on, it was hard not to walk like this and to feel like royalty. You know what I mean? I'm also living out my childhood dream of playing Princess Buttercup. So like, there's a version where I'm like, I'm getting paid to do this. This is exactly what I dreamed about when I was a kid. Not exactly what I dreamed about.
yeah.
A version of what I dreamed about.
It's one of those.
It was even better. It was even better because it was just, you know, off the cuff and scary and weird and hilarious.
I think this is a broken lizard thing, but the pace is, there's no breaks. Like, you feel like you're on a roller coaster that you can't get off. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
What was it like reading the scripts? Like, did you realize like what I was saying when you were just reading the scripts at the pace of this movie?
Oh yeah, I mean, like, this is going to be a movie, which is exciting too, that people are probably going to want to watch more than once, because you're going to be laughing during the next joke. Yeah. And so it's one of those movies that you're going to rewatch and be like, oh my God, I missed that last time. It was fucking hilarious. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be one of those.
It's so true. But like, it's one of those things too, where when we talked about the Orville, I find this really interesting because mindsets of kind of actors and storytellers always interest me, because this is kind of like what we said, right? Like, joke after joke, like, you know, got some moments where it's got some heart, but it's like just kind of like a really funny movie with goofy laughs all the time. The Orville is something that, yeah, has the laughs, but like, especially like New Horizons has a lot of like serious undertones, yeah, and everything. So does your mindset kind of change in regards to like, okay, you're on the Orville, which has kind of some laughs, but we're kind of like a lot of emotions there, and then you work on Quasi, and it's like, okay, now it's just pure laughs? Or is it all storytelling for you, or is there like a mindset change?
It's all storytelling, but I will say, like, you know, working with the guys like going to college. You know what I mean? You're like, yeah, we get to have some fun. You know, we're not taking ourselves too seriously. Everybody's having a good time, even when it gets hard, because it's still, you know, it's still a movie, and you still have to make your days, and you still have to make time. But even then, like, people are still having fun and loving being in that environment. And I think it's just different because you get to play. Where on the Orville, it's pretty structured.
It's pretty structured. Some of those last episodes of the Orville made me think about things.
Yeah, well, good. That was the point.
I mean, that's the point. I know, 100%. But like, I feel like that a show like that is like, I see it because part of the gig with Popternative is you have to see what's out there, what people are saying and everything. You know what I mean? There's a lot of like, there are fans of like the original like Star Trek that like love the Orville. Then you have the people that just love like the slapstick kind of like Family Guy stuff. Like, the fan bases, it's so big, but there's like different kind of like fans of that show, which is like the coolest thing to see.
Absolutely. And then there's such a big difference from season 1 to season 3.
I know.
I mean, they're different shows.
If you look at that show, but you look at Quasi, even kind of like, I love what you just said about like the scale of it with like the costumes and everything. Would you say, because I feel like those projects, the scales are really big in terms of you go on set and it's like, wow, there's a lot kind of happening now aesthetic wise and everything. Would you say like working on shows like Friday Night Lights kind of like prepared you for things like that? Or do you find like it was a little bit of kind of one of those, like, was it maybe like short films that you worked on maybe, or like things that were like when you first started? Like, I'm just curious because Friday Night Lights is very like drama focused, right? But then you work on a lot of movies like this and shows like this that just like with the costumes and the effects and everything, you know what I mean? But I'm sure from an acting perspective, there's a lot of preparation.
Well, I will say Friday Night Lights has made me the actor I am today.
Yeah.
Like, without that, I don't know who I would be. But, you know, because Peter Berg wanted to create this environment where the writer and the actor could feel comfortable to coexist together and create together, you know, we had such an amazing writing team. You know, Jason Katims, Liz Heldens, like so many amazing writers, but there was freedom. So we were able to say, hey, I'd like to say this here, or we'd have our EP director come in and be like, hey, Annie, say da 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 da, and I'd say something, and all of a sudden it was a different scene, you know. And like having no marks and just having that freedom, you learn to use your instinct because you're not having somebody telling you, go stand there, do that. You feel like the pressure is on you to make the right decision. And that, I think, is the same thing that lends itself to like Quasi, where again, you're doing the improv, you're trusting your instinct, you know, so absolutely, it definitely plays into that.
I think I'm saying this, not you, so it's not biased, but I think an argument could be made that Friday Night Lights is like one of the greatest like TV shows I've written, like from the writing perspective. I think it's up there, like 100%.
100%. I think it's in the top 10.
100%. I'm saying this, not you, because I get to say that.
I'm not saying it either. It's literally in the top 10 of all time. I think it was like Times or whatever wrote it. But
yeah.
I love it.
Before we wrap up too with Quasi, like with a Broken Lizard and everyone and Kevin directing and everything, what were those conversations like, you know, about the characters and a lot of the improv? Like, what can you tell me about that specifically?
It was just pretty much like they just wanted me to feel comfortable. You know, they really wonderfully write for women, which is not heard of for a lot of men. And so I love that they made her the strongest, smartest person in the room. And, you know, that she succeeds and she's this amazing, like, empowering character. But the feeling was put into it like very early on that we're going to improv, we're going to have fun, you're not going to overthink it, and they really just envelop you with love and like support, so you never feel like you're being judged and there's not a bad pitch. That's
so well said. I mean, Quasi is going to be on Hulu April 20th, which is crazy, and I can't wait for people to see it. Adrianne, so great catching up with you. Thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.